Hey, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Alex O. I'm a filmmaker and video producer based in Southern California. Today's uncut video is going to be about media storage solutions. And the way we're going to break down this video is I'm going to make a few recommendations right up front for people who are maybe just starting content creation. So I'll show you two specific drives that probably will be what you should look at. And then for anyone that's been a content creator for a while and looking for something more robust, more things with like redundancy, things with bigger storage volume, capacity, more networking features, we're gonna talk about that as well. So first, before we get started, I do want to let you know that I'm going to link in the description down below this Notion article that I wrote. I actually made this for a good friend of mine. His name is Brady, and he is a fantastic filmmaker. He is based in Southern California as well, but we met in Portland, Oregon. But he had some questions about his Synology NAS storage solution, and and that got me thinking about when I want to upgrade my media. And also cloud solutions. There's been a few cloud solutions that I'm looking at that are pretty expensive. So as you go through the list, it's definitely pretty comprehensive, and those solutions are definitely catered towards more for filmmakers and people who are dealing with I'm talking terabytes and terabytes of footage. So most content creators, you will not need this until you are producing content at that scale. But that link will be down below. You can skim through it and let's get right into it. So media, right? So most people know that when you're shooting on a camera, you are also have one of these SD cards. These are going to go into your camera, and it's going to be what you use to record footage. And over time, a lot of that builds up, and where does it go? And I want to point out to you just a few things, few solutions that have worked for me, that haven't worked for me. And so this is going to be for anyone who is just starting content creation. And then once I review the footage, I'll figure out, I'll put chapters. So this might be kind of, if it's not as relevant to you, you can skip to the next chapter. But right off the bat, I want to make two recommendations. Is that this one right here is the Samsung T7 Shield. These come in 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte options. And then this right here is a Seagate 5 terabyte portable drive. And why I recommend these two, and actually, if you're just starting off and all you have is an SD card, I highly recommend that you start off with this. This is cheaper, but I will get into a little bit why that I would recommend you start off with this. So you're gonna spend a lot more upfront. One of these is about a 4 terabyte version of this is what I'm gonna recommend, but these start, I think this is $350 if you go to like Best Buy, B&H. And why I like this is that these transfer very, very fast. I'm not gonna get into the differences of solid state drives and optical hard drives in this video, but this is fast, and it's gonna be much smaller and more portable. And because there's less mechanical moving parts in a solid state drive, you can carry this with you to where you're going to shoot. If you're gonna go edit from a cafe, this is great to start off with because I think it gives you a portable option. This, on the other hand, seems portable. It's small. I actually don't have the drive on me because I sent off this one to my client in San Diego. But this one is great for archiving purposes. It's much slower. It has the spinning drive, so you'll hear that mechanical noise. So you definitely don't want to be moving this around, taking this to places with you. These are much more affordable at, I think this one is $129. I think it's $150. But if you find it on sale right now, I think it's $129. The reason why you don't want to move these around is because these are going to break. There's a spinning drive disk inside this thing, and there's a needle, And if you're shaking this thing around, again, there's nothing in here, but if you shake this around, you're going to damage some of those mechanical components, and it's going to cost you at least $1,000 to fix one of these. And I know because I had to fix one of these drives, 3 of them actually, each time cost me between $1,000 to $1,200. And this was back when I first started. And you would think that I would learn after the first time. I didn't. I kept using drives like this that kept breaking on me. And I was in college and I could not, I just kept thinking, oh, when I can afford more media storage, I'm going to have backups. But I did not do that, and I paid the price of $1,000 per recovery 3 times. So please, please, please take my advice and get this to back this up. So once you fill this up, it's definitely, I would recommend backing this up as soon as you can. But I understand that sometimes maybe you gotta wait for that next paycheck, or you gotta wait for that next gig, or whatever, and it might not be very feasible to buy both at the same time. So if anything, you can also start off with a smaller capacity. As you can see, these are my favorite drives. I have 3 of these on my desk right now, and then 1 that's actually on my laptop. So these are my absolute favorite drives. And so now that we kind of went over these, let me actually, before we move on, there are many different, versions of solid state drives that I've bought. I recommend the Samsung T7 Shield because the SanDisk Extremes have been known to just fail. They're not reliable, at least the Extreme Pros that are, they look nice because they're always on sale, but there is a known recall for them. There's a known issue where they just stop working. My team at ZP Productions, we bought a handful of drives that pretty much shortly after opening and using them, they started failing on us. So I highly recommend you stay away from the SanDisk Extremes. I know a handful of people who have had great experiences, and I actually just had a project to edit some documentary content for Anchor that was on the SanDisk Extremes. I just personally have had some failures with it, so I don't trust it, but for what it's worth. Of the Samsung series, if you're looking at the T7 Shield, you will probably see that there is a Samsung T7 as well. I highly recommend you stay away from those as well. I have one of the T7s, and they don't clear. There's a thing called, I think, a cache, CACHE, and I might be wrong, and someone might be able to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it doesn't refresh its cache fast enough. So you'll find that it speeds this, it drops down so much that for me, it just became unusable. It became slower than a spinning optical drive. So stay away from the T7s is what I do. But otherwise, the T7 Shields are fantastic. I have not upgraded to the T9s because I personally have not needed something faster than the T7 Shields, but the T9s are very nice. I edited off one for a YouTuber for some food content that I was doing. The T9 is very fast, but I don't think I noticed a real world difference between the T7 Shield and the T9 to make up for the price difference. So that is that. Let's see. So what I would recommend is that you get the T7 Shields, you back up to the Seagate 5 terabytes. Western Digital is also a very fantastic brand. I would say between the two, they're comparable. They're the two, I think, top leading hard drive manufacturers, and they're very comparable in terms of quality and reliability. I think when I got started, I think Western Digital just had the reputation of just being more reliable, but I think Seagate has caught up over the years. Okay, so now once you start to find that, okay, so this is probably for anyone that is needing some more features. And by features, and the number one feature that I think you should look for in a hard drive is beyond speeds and capacity, is redundancy. And what I mean by redundancy is 2 copies. So if one ever fails, at least you have another copy somewhere else. And for that, I do recommend a product by Western Digital. It's called the WD MyBook Duo, I think. And what I love about these are, this one is a 2 8 terabyte configuration. So in total, it's 16 terabytes, but I run it in a RAID 1 configuration, which means there's 2 drives in here, 2 spinning drives, and they are identical copies of one another. So when I back up footage onto this drive, if one drive fails, the other drive will retain that information. RAID 0 has no redundancy, and I'm not going to get into that in this video because this video will go on forever. But let me just pop it open real quick. One of these, a 16 terabyte, which is a 2x 8 terabyte enclosure, I think that will run you about, I want to say $450. At the time of purchase, I bought this for about $500. So you can see why these are kind of harder to buy than say like one of these. But eventually, once you start needing redundancy, this is what I would say you should go for. And so if you look inside, that's what it looks like. And what I like about it is that, yeah, these just pop right out. I'm not gonna pop them out, but as you can see, these 2 drives, what I recommend is you run with these drives because, actually, I will pop them out for you. What I like about these drives is that they actually come with WD Red. Are these the Pros? No, these are the WD Red Plus hard drives. What I love about that is that it's a direct upgrade path to something like a Synology NAS or a desktop attached storage in the future. And go ahead and feel free, leave down any comments about any questions you might have about these systems. But what I love about going with some system like this is that once you fill this up, you can then upgrade to something like a Synology NAS drive. So what I did was I took from those 2 8 terabytes, I basically started a new array in here with, you can see there's 4 hard drives. And what I did was, okay, so I made the mistake of buying drives that are bigger capacity than 8 terabytes. I highly recommend that you actually start off with whatever capacity that you want to run. Because when you build out a NAS, you have to go from your smallest drives have to go in, and then you have to go build up to your bigger drives. So I bought 2 more 12 terabyte drives. I popped those two 8 terabytes in here, and then I put the two 12 terabytes in here. And then now I had 4 hard drives, Basically, that's kind of how it goes. You pop it in, close, and you basically build out a hybrid RAID system in here. I absolutely love my Synology NAS. Some people will, recommend that you don't get a Synology, and I would definitely say you have to consider what your use case is. But I love that this can hook up to my wireless router. And anywhere around my house, office, I can access my files wirelessly. So that is definitely a really cool use case scenario. Like I will be down in like my living room or in my kitchen, and on my MacBook, I can literally pull up my drive and access the files I need without having to go and actually hardwire them in. When it comes to actually transferring footage into here, I do hardwire because it would take forever if I try to do it wirelessly. But this is what I would recommend, that if you're looking for like the network connectivity features, go from the MyBook Duo to this is the DS920 Plus. There is new models since then. There are also a lot of different configurations. This is a 4-bay. There are 6 bays, there are 8 bays, but I decided to go with the 4-bay because I knew that I would need an 8-bay eventually. And I didn't want to go from a 6-bay to an 8-bay. It just felt kind of like I'd rather just save that money, the difference between a 4-bay and a 6-bay. I'd rather save that money and put it towards an 8-bay when the time comes. So I don't know, that's kind of how I approached it. 6-bay just felt like this weird kind of in the middle configuration, but also I will say, if you're not shooting as much footage as like a videographer or a video production company does, maybe the 6-bay will work great for you. And or maybe if you have even more needs than a 4-bay, 6-bay will make more sense, and you could upgrade to the I think they make a 12-bay. I don't know. I haven't looked enough at the bigger options, but I know there's some much bigger NAS storage solutions. So I like Synology because the operating system is fantastic. I have not tried QNAP, and I have not and I've seen there's a new company called Ugreen that is making these NAS solutions, but I'm a huge proponent of buying into systems that have, one, good software and good user interfaces, and two, a lot of support from communities, right? So there's a lot of Synology users that I can go look up. If I ever have an issue with Synology, I can go look it up online. I can ask my friends who have Synology, hey, have you run into this issue? And vice versa. My friends can ask me, how I got my Synology set up, or what I did when I ran into certain specific issues. So I always look at equipment in the context of my use case scenario, what my business needs, as well as what my peers and colleagues have, because it just creates for a much better overall experience for me. Does it cost more? Yes, it definitely does. But I think when I try to be too different and go with a system that nobody knows, I find that I run into issues that no one knows how to solve, and it becomes incredibly frustrating and stressful and time consuming, which I think maybe I was willing to deal with when I was in college, but now as someone who is busy running his business and taking care of his family, I just don't got time for that anymore. Anyhow, that is the Synology NAS. Okay, so now let's go into cloud storage solutions. So let's see, the ones that I have listed on my article is going to be Box.com, Backblaze, and Dropbox. And as you can see there, I kind of did some calculations because I try to think about like, okay, what if I wanted to back up, like what if I had hundreds of terabytes that I need to back up, which I don't. I have probably somewhere around, I want to say I probably have somewhere between 60 to 80 terabytes of footage. And obviously trying to back that up to a service like Dropbox would get incredibly expensive. So I went ahead and did a price analysis. I just broke it down. So Box Enterprise Plus comes out to be $1,800 a year for unlimited storage, which sounds great, but when you do the math, it comes out to be quite expensive if you're not going to be using that capacity. An alternative solution called Backblaze will give you basically, you're paying per terabyte per month. So their pricing point is 6 terabytes per month, which comes out to 72 terabytes per year. And the break-even point for Box.com and Backblaze is 25 terabytes. So if you have more than 25 terabytes that you need on cloud storage, then I recommend going with Box.com because you get unlimited storage with Box. The only issue that I've notice with Box.com is that you can't upload files bigger than 100 gigabytes. I think beyond that, you probably have to look for a custom solution from Box.com, and I can't imagine how much that costs. Whereas according to Backblaze, you are able to upload as big of a file as you want. So I will be honest, most of my files, I think like the biggest my video, comes out to be is like 80 to 90 gigabytes. I don't think I've ever really hit that 100 gigabytes because I'm thinking about what recording format and codec do I want to be using and what am I recording itself. I've worked with a DP who recorded a 2-hour interview in a really high quality ProRes codec, and it came out to be so big of a file. But it's crazy because it's interview, it's A-roll, and you don't even really see that footage. We ended up actually using mostly the B cam and the C cam for that interview. I have one that I'm thinking of in particular, but let's see, where was I going with that? Yes, so I think when you're starting to work with bigger files like that, you really have to be mindful of where is this going to be where's this going to go? If it's archival, then I think, if we're shooting something for, most recently I was in Palm Springs to help out on a ZP Productions project. We were filming interviews that were going to go into the archive at a museum, and something like that, I recorded in a pretty high quality. I didn't record that one in RAW even, though it was a shorter interviews, because it's kind of, in terms of use case scenario, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me to spend so much money on media storage just to have quality on something that maybe isn't gonna be appreciated. It's for every extra however much storage you're gonna use to elevate the quality. It's just at a point, I think at a certain point you're not gonna, it's all marginal difference, right? And it's gonna be a specific use case scenario that warrants the use of such high quality codecs. Okay. I am trying to keep this video on track and focus. I have a hard time doing that, and I'm sorry that you have to sit through this uncut video with me and my brain going all over. But I think I went over pretty much what I suggest. For anyone that needs something faster than T7 Shield, there are companies that are making enclosures for NVMe solid state drives. I don't have any NVMe's on me right now that I can share with you, but they're the ones that go inside of your actual desktop and laptop computers. You can buy them and then put them into an enclosure, and then if you're running a fast connection like Thunderbolt 4, then you're gonna be able to get some, it's the closest thing you'll get to editing off of your computer directly. But with that said, at the end of this little article that I put together, there is like a 16 terabyte NVMe RAID solution that I put down there, and the cost of that thing is phenomenal. It's $1,500, if you just kind of put together rough numbers. But I think that's a very small use case scenario that for some people it makes sense, because maybe they're shooting a bunch of raw footage and there's a lot of stuff to go through. So okay, that is it for today's video. Please let me know what you think, and use the comment section to ask any questions that you have about media storage solutions. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything else, but I think the last mindset tip to have is if affording a lot of media is not feasible, then I strongly encourage you to have a much more, I don't want to use the word frugal, but I would encourage you to be more conservative about media, right? It's easy to think like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot as much as I want in the highest quality, in 4K, 6K, 8K, highest data rates. I think it's easy to fall into sort of like this rabbit hole of just getting better quality. And I want to encourage you that, those options are there for when you need it, but it's important to consider how expensive that's going to be on the back end. If you're editing, if you're going to be storing and keeping that footage somewhere, right? If you're just sending it off to someone else, it's someone else's problem. But then if you're the one if you're the producer, if you're the content creator, and you're going to be, keeping all that data, be mindful of how much you're creating, and to be honest, how much you're wasting in terms of storage. I want to share one quick example with Lavender, the YouTube channel that I edited for 4 years. During my time there, we shot everything in HD, 1080p footage, because we knew most people were watching it on their phones, on their laptops, on their computer monitors, and very occasionally people were watching it on the TV. But when you're watching it on TV, you're not like pixel peeping. You're kind of laid back, sitting. You might even be across the living room watching on your TV in the background. But during the entire time I was there, we were editing with 1080p footage, and it had zero impact on our actual subscriber growth, right? So like our audience, our fans, they did not, I don't remember ever running into a comment that said, hey, your footage looks a little fuzzy, it looks a little soft. I definitely think it's something that, we as video production folks worry a little bit too much about. But we grew the channel from 1 million, during my time there, we grew from 1 million to 2.3 million, and we shot 1080p 420 8-bit footage. And we did not, I cared about, the codecs that we were using and whatnot. We wanted to upgrade, but I really think, Eileen, she's the person behind the channel and the personality, and I really appreciate her kind of mindset around keeping things simple, keeping things lean, because it enables you to just focus more on the actual creative and the content that you're putting together. So definitely something that I learned there is that you don't need to shoot in the highest quality. If your main goal is to make content and help other people, and to publish content and grow your channel. I highly recommend that you take some time to think about that and consider what your real needs are. And a lot of times I consider not even shooting in 4K. I do because I think, it's the video production guy in me, and I just feel the need to shoot in 4K. But I will be honest, there's a lot of times I think about shooting in 1080p because most people would not really care or notice. And so I'll leave you with that, and I'm sure there will be another video idea that comes to mind. I hope you are okay with this uncut version, and I prefer doing this because it actually gets me to post. It gets me to publish without worrying too much about having such a polished video. I think there will come a time when I do get into a much more formal setup with lights, with a nice backdrop and nice editing with text, and like I definitely want to do that, and I want to be able to, you know, provide that on this YouTube channel. I just think we'll get there one day, and I appreciate you. You know, if you're here at this point in my journey, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. It means the world to me, and I hope that me sharing some of my experiences, some of the things I've learned in life and in business and in content creation, I hope that it can be insightful for you. Again, as always, please feel free to reach out on Instagram. I'm much more active there, and you can send me a DM, say hello. You can ask questions about content creation, about life, about whatever. I'd love to meet you and connect with you and talk to you. It's instagram.com/itsalexo, ITSALEXOH. And the last thing that's on my mind, you know, if you haven't clicked off the video yet, the last thing that's on my mind is I will probably launch a newsletter. I tried, I think a couple years ago, I tried to launch one, and then I wrote a couple, and then I had issues with the software. It was just not getting delivered to my subscribers. So I will probably relaunch that, and you will be the first to know. I will probably drop it down in the description below, some sort of way to subscribe to it, and I'm gonna cap it at 1,000 subscribers for the time being. And I know it's gonna take some time to get there, but I kind of want to use this newsletter as a way to stay connected with my day one fans and my day one community and people who have been here, my friends, my family, my close, my colleagues, people who are, you know, continuously and actively engaged with me in life. This newsletter will be, I don't think I'm gonna, you know, share so much that it feels like it's spam, but I do think I want a space that I can start to gather at least like a contacts book, right? Like I want to know like who is following and engaging with my stuff and who's curious to learn more. So I will drop a link below, and I'll start taking signups, and this will be a place where I will start to share some, even just like, you know, like in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, eventually I want to hire a video editor. And I think, you know, I would probably want to hire someone within my own like community and people who have been following along, because you kind of know like what I've been through and what I'm working on. Or even like another thing that I've been thinking about is eventually I think there will come a time when for those of you who follow my content and are looking for investment opportunities, I'm part of a variety of projects and initiatives, even beyond the scope of video production. And I think that there will be opportunities to pool an investment fund together and have an investment that that's profitable and that will offer, you know, returns on your investment. And yeah, there's a lot of ideas that I have in the future that I think I might not want to share so publicly on Instagram or on YouTube, and this email newsletter will be an opportunity for me to have a smaller space to do that. I know people use like something like Patreon, but maybe it'll be a mix of all that. It'll be a mix of, the only thing about Patreon that I don't like is that, and at this point you can click off if you're not interested, but I'm just rambling, but I think something like Patreon is tough because people don't actively spend time on Patreon unless that's their thing. I like email newsletters because it's direct to your inbox, and we don't have to worry about another platform, you know, like Instagram deciding whether it wants to show me to you or not. But a lot of things for me to think about, a lot of things for me to work on. But again, the last thing I'll leave you with is that I appreciate you so much. I am grateful to be here, to be healthy, to be able to share what I've learned and what I've experienced online to my friends, families, colleagues, and to people on the internet. So hope you have a great rest of your day and happy holidays. I will probably be posting more often and just, yeah, I'll see you around.